Hi guys! Today we're going to look into another face reading. This video is going to be dedicated more to an entire face reading overall. So I wanted to do a little more different for today. I wanted to look into secondary characters from the Resident Evil 4 game. So today we're going to talk about the ganados. I want this video to be focused specifically on the ganados, and I know you're probably wondering, okay, but why would you do a video about the ganados? They're just simple enemies. What's so special about them? Well, that's exactly why I want to look into it, because they seem pretty interesting to me. Even though they seem as some simple villagers, I want to better understand the background, from where they're coming from. I have looked into the backstory of the game, and it really catched my attention, I didn't really, as someone that has played Resident Evil 4, the original version, I haven't expected for the remake to be so detailed, and I'm actually surprised with the amount of effort and the amount of information the creators have put in it. I mean, there's a lot to reveal here. If I'm going to look at these faces, maybe I'm going to better understand if they used to be good people, genuine good people, or if there was some kind of potential there for all that violence and all that, dark stuff that the Plaga did to them as people. So that's exactly what I'm gonna be looking into. Alright, so now let's dive into it. I could only find 3 models of the faces of the ganados. So we're gonna see for each ones what are the similarities between them and what sets them apart, and how does that have to do with their environment, with the story as well, and why did what were their faces made to look the way they are, because that also correlates somehow. So first thing first, we have this mister right here. When I first look at this man right here, I can see that there are a few dominant features, key features that dominate the personality. So I can notice that there's a lot of metal elements from the Chinese face reading. Metal will be tied to what will refer to perfectionism. Negatively, it can be manifested as harshness and rigid in a person's life, rigidity. So we see metal in his forehead. And how does that look like? Well, if you look at his forehead, you're going to notice, so if we were to put a finger on his forehead and if we were to check the fleshiness on it, we would feel that the fat layer protecting the skull is very thin. So the bonier a certain feature from one's face is, the more that element of metal appears in their face. So this will make someone very rigid, very the opposite of soft-spoken, in the way they're direct, they're sharp, they almost have a very strict way of expressing themselves, almost having a cruel way. This is manifested negatively. So if the other elements from the Chinese medicine, face reading, are not going to be balanced and favorable. This is the negative side of the elemental metal. Also notice that in his nose, his nose is bony, and that will, so the nose, because it's tied to the ego, who the person really is as a person, how they perceive themselves and how they appear to other people, they're going to come off as this. So we're talking here about who the person really is. Someone with a bony nose like his they have a more ascetic way of being. They prefer to be their own leader. They prefer to do work alone, and they would rather get things instead of giving things. It refers to a life leaning towards solitude. They would rather be alone in the sense of too many people bother them. They're not a family person. They're more independent. And this will make him an independent worker in the field. Whatever his role would be in the village would make him an independent worker. This can also tie itself with the shape of his eyes. So we see that his eyes are pretty small. Small eyes can also mean stubbornness in one's personality. And overall, his face will paint the image of a person that's actually a little grumpy, likes to do things their own way. They probably wouldn't be really open and nice about wanting to have other people help them in their farm, for example, and they prefer to have things to keep them neat as possibly as neat as they can be. Now, on to the next one. We have another man. Alright, so now my brain is trying to search for how friendly they're looking, because looking at them and seeing them half zombie, half human, it's alright. We can go with it, alright? I can put up a fight. Okay. Now, something that bothers me about the features being affected by the plaga is that it diminishes the quality of the eyes. So you can see a lot of eye strain, and that doesn't really help me with seeing the right feature. But if we're also talking about the eyes, let's start with him, with Mr. Number 2, and talk about his eyes first. So we can see that his eye shape is triangle, and they're almost like drooping, like the drooping almost like has a melting quality to it, like when someone feels very oh, I really want that, like pouty or longing for something, they kind of make this expression with their eyes, and I can see this is a lot of pessimism and sadness overall. And if this is tied together with the triangle eye shape, this will make someone that's very critical of other people, but at the same time is gonna be criticism from the need, from constant dissatisfaction with themselves. So it's going to be having high expectations and wanting to get the best out of a situation, but never really knowing what that better looks like. I don't know if it makes sense. I hope it does. His face specifically, we see more fleshiness. So this would have been one of the better villagers from his days. He would have been kinder, because fleshiness in the face refers to the element earth from Chinese face reading. Earth is in its favorable, in its positive way of expressing itself. In its positive, when you flip a coin, it has these elements from the face reading from Miangxiang. I really hope I pronounced that well. It's in Chinese. They have a positive side to it and a negative side to it. So for Earth here, the positive side will be wanting to take care of other people. So it's going to be a person that wants to nurture, to help the community, to build a good group. It's a gentler personality than the last mister we talked about. And next up, we have a lady here. The lady looks scariest. Oh my god. I was expecting the lady to look the nicest because she's a lady, ladies are cute and nice, but now she looks like the most hostile from all the three of them. Oh my god, that stare. Alright, so what I see here is pretty much the same case from the first guy we talked about. She has a bony nose. Her forehead is quite also bony. Again, we have a lot of asceticism here, wanting to be lonely. This woman she probably would live alone or at least if she would have had a family, she would have lived her life as if she would have been alone. Because we see a lot of selfishness, a lot of this need of wanting to be alone and doing things alone, which in her case is not quite favorable, but can be also good in other cases. So this is not, if I say alone, it's not a bad thing. It's a great thing in other cases, for example, in leadership or in positions where someone has to be, in order to succeed, needs to be more alone. But in this game, this is the feature that the creators have used to paint the specific background of these characters. Now, I can also notice that she has a little bit more padding in her cheeks. So here there's gonna be more flesh in her face, and that will mean that's again the element earth, wanting to provide, to help other people. So there's these two things that kind of come in conflict: her need to be alone, her need to be selfish by nature, but at the same time also wanting to give, also wanting to nurture, probably feed the community, be there for other people, because this is how she used to be before the infection. And now things are changing with now things can be different, but this is how she's going to come out as to other people. She would have probably lived alone, but really liked the children from the village. She would have had no problem living alone, but also at the same time she wouldn't be bothered talking to other people, so she wouldn't have been as grumpy. But from her eyebrows, which are pretty small. You can also notice that she leans like short. So the eyebrows is this kind of length and not going further to the back like this. When someone has short eyebrows, they're going to also prefer to be more independent, more pragmatic, more action focused, more wanting to do things by themselves. So again, we have this ascetic persona, wanting to be and doing things alone. Yes. Alright, guys. So overall, we have, let's resume all of these things. So we would have the majority of these villagers would be people that already would have been pretty lonely in nature, independent, hard workers, and very dedicated to their daily lives, perfectly integrating into their own work and preferring to do it all alone, and also having a love for community, wanting to help the others, help in collaboration, but with the purpose of being independent. So there was a lot of individuality as a value in Valdelobos before, Osman Sadler has taken over the influence and influenced the village, and he had infected the villagers with the plaga. And now, of course, that individuality is no longer there as a value, because now they're mindless creatures. But before all of that, this was what their faces would have painted the image. So it would have been very interesting to see the faces before their plague infection, because they look a lot more hostile like this, with the redness in their eyes and the wariness from their face and muscles. But that's pretty alright as well. I mean, if we just imagine what it would have looked like with their faces brighter, happier, it would have totally made a difference and helped the image keep up to a brighter version of the village. Alright, so this was today's video. Thank you so much for watching. So in the next video, I would like to talk about Vitores Mendes, face reading, and how has his history affected his personality, who was he before the plague infection, and how did he change afterwards, and how did that transformation specifically change him, and how do the changes in his face influence his personality and his health, because health is also tied to face reading. For now, I'm wishing you having a good day or a good night, and I can't wait to see you again. So for now, it's goodbye.